Over the years, there have been many, and I mean many, game development companies such as Atari, Sega, and even the Ouya. But one has outlived them all: Nintendo.
Nintendo was formed in 1889 where they started to manufacture flower cards in Kyoto, Japan.
Soon after, in 1902, these started to get exported to the rest of the world and became a massive success, which in turn created a massive partnership around the world. In recent years, Nintendo has actually stepped away from the card scene and is now working in electronics and electronic manufacturing.
Adventure is on the horizon. Stanley's going buggy. Mario Brothers have their hands full, and Donkey Kong's going ape. It's rough seas for Popeye, and Snoopy's got to get on the ball. But you can help. You got Nintendo Game & Watch. That's pocket power. Widescreen or multi-screen games you can play indoors or out. They tell you the score and even the time. They're pocket power. They're Game & Watch. 14 in all, only from Nintendo.
Following on from this, I recently started to think, how have Nintendo stayed so relevant, even with the recent shift into weaker hardware? Before making this video, I spent hours trying to identify, why is this the case? How is it possible for a company to actually succeed whilst not meeting the demands of the current competition? Some individuals believe Nintendo's branding is what has actually allowed them to stay relevant and consistent throughout all the years. But if that's the case, how come the Wii U sold so bad? And how come the 3DS had to have a price drop? It really makes you wonder. I do believe this point has some relevance. Like if you look at Apple, for example, Apple's company is all based on their branding, and without that branding they wouldn't be able to charge a premium price. But I don't think that works for Nintendo, well, not as much as Apple.
Now Apple, fortunately, is one of the half a dozen best brands in the whole world. Right up there with Nike, Disney, Coke, Sony. It is one of the greats of the greats, not just in this country, but all around the globe. And, but even a great brand needs investment and caring if it's going to retain its relevance and vitality. And the Apple brand has clearly suffered from neglect in this area in the last few years.
Another reason why I think Nintendo gets by on such weak hardware is because you know what to expect. Your parents grew up on Nintendo consoles more than likely, and because of that reason it's been passed down to you, that quality, that service, that branding again, which reinforces, oh, this is fun, this is a family orientated company. And because of that reason, you know what to expect, because your parents have told you what to expect. And I believe if my parents didn't play on their Super Nintendos and NESs growing up, I wouldn't be that much of a fan of Nintendo as I currently am. Another thing to be aware of when you think of Nintendo is the fact that their games consoles, their software, their games are all catered towards a younger generation. A lot of the big Nintendo characters such as Mario and Zelda, their games aren't rated higher than a 12+. I can't name any game which is a main series Nintendo game which is rated than a 12+. But if you think of Xbox and PS4, a lot of them big series such as Call of Duty or whatever are rated above 18, and that's because they're targeted towards a different target market. And I believe this is one of the main reasons why they can get through with lower hardware. Although this is a good reason, I don't believe this is the only reason why they are so successful and how they are so relevant. If you think about any company, you need to understand what gives that company competitiveness, what makes them stand out against another company. And because of that reason, we're going to analyze Nintendo and see how they differ from their rivals. I think one of the main things what actually does put them against their rivals is the exclusives that Nintendo holds. This is the only place where you can get Mario, Pokemon, Zelda, and so much more, which is definitely a big selling point. Although this is a really good point to make, I believe if you look back at their last three consoles, you can see a massive shift in what they sell. So for example, if you look at the 3DS, the Wii U, and the Switch, they all built on foundations made in the previous console, but they're still different. Like the 3DS was the first 3D handheld console out there, and that is crazy that that was done there. The Wii U, it was an adaptation of the Wii, going a bit further into it. It didn't sell well, but you could see that they are trying to differentiate themselves from their competitors. And then the Switch, it's a handheld home console, which is something never heard of, and that's never been seen before. I think this shows that Nintendo are trying to do something different, trying to change the view of gaming, and I believe this puts them ahead of their rivals and makes them stand out against their competitors, as it's something that we've never seen and something we've never experienced. Another example of this would be if you look at the phone industry over the last 10 years. The phone industry has shifted from flip phones, slide-up phones, to now smartphones. And even these smartphones have been changing their looks, their designs, how they work over the last 10 years. Why can't gaming do the same? And I believe Nintendo is definitely trying to shift this with their hardware.
The thing about Nintendo is that they're always going to try something new with whatever it is they're delivering to its consumers, even if a good lot of them don't really care for it.
If you think of any company who are willing to take risks and has the capital to actually take these risks, it would be Nintendo. Yes, of course they can lose money sometimes, but then in others they can make so much more money. Like I said, look at the Wii U.
As of December 2012, the Wii U had sold 3 million units worldwide. That breaks down to around 1.3 million in North America, 900,000 in Europe, and 830,000 in Japan. The original Wii sold 3.5 million units from April to December last year.
The Wii U flopped massively. Yes, it had some good games and it did sell okay at the end of its life cycle, but the Switch is just outselling that tenfold. I do believe the 3 points mentioned in this video does actually help Nintendo grow. I believe these points need to work together in synergy to create loyalty, consistency, and get that following out there. No matter what Nintendo makes, people will always be there to listen and Nintendo will be listening back. If people don't like something, Nintendo would sort that. And if Nintendo wasn't here, I believe the game industry wouldn't be as well established as it is today. So yes, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope I provide an insight into why I believe Nintendo's weak hardware doesn't matter, and I believe Nintendo will be here for many years to come.